Am I right in thinking it's Fulham, West Ham, and Spurs who City have got left? So they've got 3 London clubs that don't want Arsenal to win the league. Welcome back to Lose to Win, the podcast. Myself, Jack, and Josh. No Ben this week, unfortunately, so it's just the two of us, mate.
I know. It's unfortunate. I know he's a busy man at the moment, isn't he? Got a lot going on. Bless
Yes,
him.
it is a
A
very
lot
busy
going
time
on.
of year for
We all
everybody,
do, though.
really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I was
certainly
going to say,
feels like that.
yourself, you're doing this on the eve of a trip away, aren't you? So
Absolutely, mate. Yes. So cramming it all in, but we got to keep the listeners interested. I know that we've got only a few amount, but we've got a few loyal listeners that rely on this on a Friday to get them through their day. So hopefully this is the little pickup that everybody needs on a Friday morning or Friday afternoon by the time it comes out. So it's always a pleasure to do it, and if we can get it done, that's the important thing. So it's great to be back.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, how's your week been then, mate? Because
It has been okay, actually. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I had a pretty good week last week. Managed to sneak into Team of the Week with 1.3. I thought it was 1.4 for some reason, but 1.3. I still got myself in the Team of the Week, which I was pretty happy about.
Very good. Yeah.
Needed again. It was kind of a bit of a reset again, probably for like the 15th millionth time. But get myself sorted with that, and obviously then a pretty good busy bank holiday weekend, which we'll come to later. Obviously went to watch the Arsenal Bournemouth, the podcast derby in person, so that was a good day out. Took young Ryan Puttick with me. He was a passenger along with Louis and Jamie in the car, so that was cool. And then I haven't done a great deal else. I was away with work early Tuesday and got back this afternoon, so all systems go, which is good. I like to be busy. Sometimes I feel like I'm too busy, and that can hamper things with diet and how disciplined I am. But I'm really working on that, so that's the key thing.
What
about yourself,
does
mate?
it help you being busy then? Do you find it helps you being busy? I know you're being away this week, so you won't be away in, but
no, sometimes.
Do you find it's the opposite?
I think if I'm honest, I think it's a hindrance, because when I'm away, food is covered, and generally I'm eating food that somebody else has prepared. So whether it be in a restaurant of a hotel, whether it is a Nando's, or whether I go full disgusting pig and get a takeaway. And if there's consecutive nights, it's very difficult, because even if you're super strict in the day, you're not completely in control. And sometimes, I would say majority of the time, hotel, restaurant menus are relatively restricted, and the type of hotels that I'm limited to based on budgets I'm allowed to spend, I don't get a great deal of freedom in terms of what you can have.
It's not like you've got an all-you-can-eat buffet for everywhere you go, and you can just. I mean, not that they're healthy at all in any way, but you can pick.
You're right. And nobody's forcing me to eat any of the stuff. I must admit, I'm not being force-fed. But there's healthier decisions I am making, and there's certainly healthier decisions I could be making. And that, I guess, is the same for everybody in all walks of jobs and careers. One thing I'm really keen to get on, and I don't think there's anybody else quite as busy as I am. I know Dave's on the road quite a bit with work in terms of sales, but I'm quite keen to find somebody that's in a similar sort of industry and as busy as I am out on the road all the time, see what golden nuggets they might have around being disciplined. I've tried like boiling some eggs the night before and getting some grapes at the service station instead of a Mackey's or whatever, and that seems to work for a little bit, and then I fade and I go back into bad habits, and that is the challenge. That's the ultimate challenge for me. Is it's mind over matter. I can do it. I know I can do it. It's just breaking a habit of a lifetime. I've been, I think, probably a heavy lad since my early 20s, and that has been a little while now. It's 14 years of it, so it's takes quite a while to break a habit like that. If I had been smoking all of that time, I think I'd find it difficult to stop smoking after that period of time, if that makes sense. So I have to be strong and resilient and take inspiration from strong and resilient people around me, especially people like my brothers, especially Luke, and his mentality is something to be in awe of, if I'm completely honest. And it's something that I certainly should be taking inspiration from. I've got to force myself to take inspiration from. But yeah, it's a bit of a deep dive into me. What about you? How was your week, mate?
Been as good as ever. I've been really consistent the last, well, I don't know, it's been 10, 11 weeks at least that it was before that. It's even before the start of the season, to be honest. So I'm really lying. It's more like 4 months now. Because even last season, I was consistent. I was just taking some medication, so it meant that my weight wasn't helpful. But as soon as I came off it, it was just, I've just been downhill ever since, from the start of the downhill in a good way. Sorry, I should say.
Yeah.
Ever since the start of the season, and it's been going pretty well. Last week was a strange one though, because I did the same kind of things. My intake was no real different. In fact, I did more exercise than ever because I just obviously coming back from injury. So I started going back to my usual 3-4 sessions a week.
Yeah.
And I had to take my shirt off to lose 0.2.
Yeah.
And so it was just really strange. And I was saying to Steve, I just didn't understand it. Then of course I have generally, as is the way with most people, your calories are a little bit more over the weekend than they are during the rest of the week. But I have generally it's not been too drastic difference. So
yeah,
I might have 25, sometimes 3,000 calories a day on the Saturday and the Sunday, and then the rest of the week it's like 1,200, 1,500 calories, and then I'm always losing weight basically.
Yeah.
And that's been the same thing for a while now, and just struggling to shift it last week.
It's funny you should say that, because Jordan is exactly the same. He had a 100-gram loss, and it was taking the t-shirt off, and he's not done anything different to what he's done previously.
Yeah, it could be the change in the heat and the weather. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't hugely warm, but I don't really know. Basically, I could just retain some water, but hard to tell. Anyway, this week, exactly the same thing. And I was saying to Steve yesterday in our football that, again, I was struggling to shift it. I was like 2 kilos up or something over the weekend. I just couldn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
And I've started stepping on the scales more often. Steve, I know Steve hates this, so apologies, Steve, but it's really helped me this season, stepping on the scales a bit more.
Yeah, being a bit more accountable with it.
Yeah, just being a bit more aware of it, really, if I'm honest. Rather than just blissful ignorance during the week and hoping that what I'm doing right is getting me there, because ultimately, anyway, so I kind of stepped on again today, and I'm suddenly now way back under where I was last week. So I'm like, okay,
good.
Well, something's shifted. I just don't know what it is. So I think at the moment I'm just having one big week followed by one very small week, and then one big week, and it's so really strange. And that seems to be the tale of a few people in the community I've spoken to as well, because I've asked a few people about it. And they were like, oh yeah, I've had, you have 1 point something, and then next week you have 0.2 or 0.3, and then you have 1 point something, and then so we'll see. I'm hoping for something significant then this week.
So do you think the medication that you were taking was helping you retain some water weight, was it?
Oh no, there was a side effect of it. This was the end of last season and the first week of this season, so that was it's long gone now, but that was one of the side effects was weight gain or weight fluctuation was the actual. So anyway, don't worry, that's all gone now. It's besides the point. It was a temporary thing.
Good.
And that was ages ago now. So
well, mate, you are smashing it and you're moving in the right direction. So yeah, you're definitely not alone. For somebody that's, I've seen a few. I guess my TikTok algorithm, I should say, is much more about these people that just kind of stop eating, you fat piece of shit, and these sorts of videos that you see on there. But there's in between those guys that are doing it for the views. There's some interesting ones, and there was one nutritionist kind of guy that was talking to. He was showing messages back and forth between him and his client, and how she was showing exercise in terms of. Sorry, no, she wasn't sharing her steps. He had logged into her or was been shared her watch details so he could see what steps she'd been taking and all these sorts of things. And then she was sending through like each day's meal plan and what she'd eaten and everything like that. And there was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was like 3,000 steps. Thursday, she'd done like 12,000 steps. The next day, she was like, I'm 2 kg up. I'm quitting. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working for me. And he had to kind of like fight her to make her understand that exercise has shocked the body. The body has gone, because she clearly hadn't been doing that at all. The way he described it is that she was a super inactive person. And to then go into that, I'm not suggesting this is what you've done because you're super active, but
no, maybe not.
But it's an example of the types of things that can happen. And it was him explaining that you've eaten well, you've eaten everything you need to do. Your body has gone into reserve almost and panic, going, we're doing loads more than what we normally do, and you've dropped your calorie intake to a limited amount. It kind of panics and thinks like something's not quite right. And again, back to the conversation, obviously we had some really good feedback about the interview of Rich, but back to the conversation with that, I guess weight isn't always the perfect measure of how well you've done. And a lot of the time I would suggest it's probably more about how you feel than how you weigh, if that makes sense. I think I'm sure there's been loads of times that Steve has seen it, especially people that aren't religiously weighing themselves and don't really know where they are. He will ask, how's your week been? And somebody's gone, yeah, really good. And it's like a couple of 100 grams. And they're like, I don't understand. But I think at that point, or Steve does well, Steve was like, but how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you're healthier? Do you feel better? And sometimes you feel a million times better, and that a million times doesn't really equate to 200 grams, does it? It's that placebo effect is more valuable than that 200 grams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you just got to trust the process. And I have been doing that. So it's not been, I'm trusting that what I'm doing is right. It's just that when I'm like trying to score goals for the team and every week counts, and I'm in last man and every week counts, to be having shocked like that I have to take my shirt off to just stay in last man is not really something I want to do, you know.
No, of course, yeah.
So I appreciate that what I'm doing is accurate. I'm not struggling mentally with it per se, but there's just something in the last couple of weeks as I felt at least had changed, and I guess with me really it's got slightly warmer and I've done much more exercise.
So, maybe there is that shock to it then.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to hear, mate, and I think you're definitely heading in the right direction. Every time I see you, you're slimmer, and keep it up, mate. You should be super proud of yourself, and it's a journey that's, as it say, it's not about the end destination, it's about how you get there and the journey. And I think that's a big part of it. If you can learn to enjoy this process and learn to understand your body better, and as you're clearly doing, trusting the process is such a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, awesome.
Anyway, should we run into some roundup then for this last week?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
Yeah, so there are some people on the pitch generally, they think it's all over, but it's kind of not so fast. Essentially, in your case, was it last week, Jack? Rare defeat for your Purples. Your first on pitch or in the main league all season, and only your second on the scales. So that means if anyone is looking for a lost cat, it's probably to be found amongst the Man v Fat Bournemouth Pigeons, because it's tighter than you think, isn't it? Really up there now, and you've got it all to do, and that you've still got to win it.
Definitely. What I think is crazy is that one result, losing on the scales and on the pitch, knocked us off the top on both. And I know that there's a lot of kind of expectation or kind of thought process that we're running away with it, but you're absolutely not. That's how quickly things can change, and that's how quickly it has changed, isn't it?
Definitely. Well, the results in general then. So the Greens won a close one, 11-10 against the Reds.
Yes.
Us Blacks, with another couple of ringers, unfortunately, lost 13-3 to the Yellows, although the pitch was much closer, I believe.
Yeah.
It was 3-2 to us in the end. Your Purples lost 10-6 to the Blues, and the Whites won a relatively low scorer this week, 6-4 to the Oranges. So as defending pitch champions, Blues became the first team to beat your Purples on the pitch all season with a 1-0 victory. It was quite tense, wasn't it, really? I mean, I was watching for the sidelines and it was very cagey, I thought. But Definitely. Then it suddenly opened up and just kind of somehow the goals didn't fly in. It was
Blues played really well. I think Tim in goal was fantastic, and absolute full credit to Blues on the pitch, because what we have done all season is played pretty good football, and we played none of that on Friday night. We didn't play. We completely lost our normal high level of football. I think we started playing too long, too soon, and that was forced upon us. I think the strength in that Blue team is there for everybody to see, and they proved why they are reigning champions on the pitch, and probably will win the pitch league again. I don't see why not. So yes, unfortunate, and then a week with 4 of us away this week is back to back difficult weeks, but we'll go again, we'll fight again, and it's not over until the fat man sings.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, does this mean the Blues are potentially on for three-peating the pitch league? I'm just trying to remember. Have they won it the first in the rotation? Because they won it all, didn't they? Won all 4 in the 3 or 4. Sorry.
Yes, you're right. They did. They won the quad, didn't they? And then they won. And then Greens won it overall last year, but Blues won the pitch. So yeah, you're right. They are.
Yeah, it's three-pitting the pitch. Probably tells you that they've got a good pitch team. Let's put it that way.
They certainly do. Yeah, and Ben is some leader, isn't he? It's
yeah, absolutely.
Lucky for anybody who gets him next season as a captain. If you haven't had Ben as a captain yet, you've got it all to look forward to. He's fantastic and will inspire and lead the team.
Yeah, very much so. We'll see about that. Hopefully someone will go on to beat, because he tends to win a lot in the first season, doesn't he? So a new rotation.
He does. So he's a serial winner.
Well, everyone will have to be wary of that as we go into it. So elsewhere, I should say, the Greens overturned a 2-1 pitch defeat to the Reds to earn a Scales and main league victory, as mentioned. That takes those races to the wire with just 3 weeks to go. We would, as in the Blacks, would have enjoyed a pitch victory over the Yellows, but for Ringle penalties, while the Whites and Oranges were deadlocked at 0-0, with the Whites weigh in enough to take the overall victory. All of that, by the way, as we mentioned, means that your Purple's lead over the Greens in main league, the main league, is reduced to just 2 points, although your advantage in goal difference means it would be probably take more than just one more slip for you to be caught, essentially. The pitch league is closer. Blues now have a 2-point advantage, but have an identical goal difference to your chasing Purples. That means the title is anyone's if the Blues were to falter, as long as anyone means only Blues or Purples, obviously. Closest of all is the Scales League, where Purples and Greens are locked together on 18 points, with just 3 goals between the teams. I should give a shout out, by the way, to the Oranges, who are third in all 3 leagues and still technically with a chance of winning any or all of them, although it would take a perfect storm of results, of course, for them to take the title this season. But that's an extremely commendable season overall for the Oranges in all categories, which is very impressive. Very impressive. The league as a whole, by the way, I should say, lost 18.1 kilos, putting us over the 220 kilos for the season. Nobody blinked in last man standing, with all 13 survivors losing weight and staying in. There are 6 with a perfect record so far, and they will each score a bonus goal next week if they can extend that sequence to 12 weeks. Now, I'm not among them, but I am among the 13. So we shall see on that one. There's a 6 perfect records. It's very impressive.
Definitely
11 or 12 weeks. So
we've
really good going.
We've got obviously Jord and Luke, but thankfully they're able to use their grace weeks this week, so they won't be knocked out, but they won't be hitting that perfect 12 weeks, which is just unfortunate how it's all landed, to be honest. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting if that number drops below. That's when goals are going to be flying in, aren't they? Moment that drops to 10, because as soon as it drops underneath 10, whoever's in it in that final 10 gets a goal, or gets 2-10. Sorry, they'll get a goal a week until the end, won't they?
Well, I mean, but that's assuming we don't get to the end of the season. Yeah. get to the end of the season without getting that would be very impressive, by the way.
Yeah, I wonder
never get to the final 10.
I wonder if he has anything in place for that.
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. Maybe he'll have to extend it with the number of players in the league and going into a new season. Maybe he'll have to say, final 12 or final 15.
Yeah.
Because so good. I wouldn't want to disincentivize, though, the number of, necessarily.
No, definitely not.
I'm not sure that does it, but just maybe that's not worth changing because last man's been brilliant for many people. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think if anybody, especially if there is above 10, maybe they should carry over a reward for their new teams next season if they do remain, or an extra grace week or whatever that may look like. It's certainly an impressive feat for anybody doing it.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, though, there were no milestones this week, which is a shame, but you can't have milestones every week.
No.
But it does mean that the 12 hat-tricks we had were more significant to some of the results in general. In terms of the top scorer, Luke Hayter, your brother, and Ravnath remained tied for top scorer on 14.5 points, with Chris Cowan, Tom Marks, Dave Durnley, and Ryan Puttick all on 14 points. As you mentioned, with Luke absent next week on Short Stag Do, it's a rare chance for the rivals to steal a march on him. Unlucky for Luke because he's had such an amazing season, but he can come back and continue to smash it. I'm absolutely certain. In terms of
definitely not over yet.
Loss, yeah, definitely. In terms of percentage loss, which the Amazing Loser Award is based on, Alex Jones leads with 11.47%, with Luke Hayter on 11.09%. Chris Cowan with 9.99%, Jordan Hayter with 9.26%, and Michael Burt with 9%, all within striking distance. So that could go down to the wire as well. That's very close. I think we mentioned this before, but Alex is at the top there, sneaky good. He's lost 14 kilos this season, 14 or so. Just unbelievable. Over a couple of stone is extremely impressive for a season.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's an all new team of the week with Bill Court leading the way with 3 kilos. The revolving door of haters saw Jack replace Jordan in the family, as you said, reserves in your family's reserved seat at the table, it seems, every single week. So Bill is the top with 3 kilos. Then we have Gareth Hensby with 2.3 kilos, Sean Madden with 2.2, Tom Atkinson with 1.9, Greg Coop with 1.7, John Costa with 1.7, and then the 3 at the bottom with James Scott, Geordie Howe. I actually don't know how to pronounce Geordie's last name. I apologise, Geordie. I say Geordie Howe, and then yourself, Jack, with all 1.3 kilos to round it out. Everything to play for then. Top of the table,
absolutely.
Goal difference is relevant, and at least one title race anyway. And all 8 teams still have a part to play in that. More importantly, everyone still has an opportunity to make the next 3 weeks significant ones in their own personal journey to a slimmer, healthier self. So we've got this, and I think that's what it is for some teams, isn't it? When you get towards the end, especially when you get towards a new rotation, it's about your personal, your personal journey, and it becomes a little bit more about your personal journey rather than a team journey. Let's be honest. But that's not any less significant, is it? So, like me, I've got a milestone to hit before the end of the season, so I'm just striving to hit it really badly.
Amazing, mate.
So some would say, the cynical would say, I should leave it till the start of next season, but I don't really want to do that.
No, finish on a high.
Exactly. And like many, I'll be the summer season as we start. We go into next week. There'll be a few ringers needed over the season because I assume people will be on holiday.
Holidays, I've got one in August, which falls a couple of weeks before the end of the season, I think. So it's all sorts going on. So we need to all make sure we're in the right place, working on our beach dad bods, and do what we need to do to get closer to Leonardo DiCaprio, all of our inspirations. We don't need to look like bodybuilders, do we? We can look like him and still do the business, I reckon. So
Yeah. So. It's funny to say that's why I think I'm so determined on Last Man this year. Just as a quick thing, because I won't be in it like next season. I know I won't, because I'll be away for 2 weeks with the start of the season. So I can't be in Last Man, which means that, I mean, I can still come back and smash it, but I just mean that Last Man's been such a big determination for me, because I know I won't have it next season.
No, of course, yeah, because of the time off, the time away from it.
Yeah.
Or maybe that extended little nugget that Steve might chuck in might help you somehow. Maybe an extra
we'll
week
see.
might
I'm
help.
not saying that was completely me, by the way. I'm not even suggesting for a second he's going to actually do that.
It's a good point. Well, you never know. Something like that might help, but you won't. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's the roundup then for this week.
Sound.
Been a good one. Another consistent
Absolutely.
loss overall for the league, and hopefully we can hit I can't remember what our overall best total is, but I'm assuming we're going to get pretty close now.
Yeah, hopefully.
3 seasons left. 3 weeks.
I think with how you are recording it on the fantasy football graphic that you do, it's going to be a lot easier for us all to check, isn't it? I guess you'll do like an end of season roundup, which will have like total weight loss, who's got points, whatever, and that will always be a good place to refer to, won't it?
Absolutely. I'm trying to keep a track on it anyway, and hopefully next season it'll be every week, not just the last few.
No, yeah, fair enough.
Okay, for now.
Awesome. Okay, what I think we should do now is just run through a few of the little admin-y bits that we wanted to talk about. So let's start with the awards night. So obviously everybody should be aware, if they're not already, or you're a new member, on Saturday the 25th, we'll be holding a awards night, end of season awards night. What we're going to do is try and do something like this at the end of every rotation. So every rotation is every 3 seasons. We all get put into new teams and go from there. So the idea is that we'll try and do this every 3 seasons as a celebration of our achievements, an opportunity to do a bit of charity bits and pieces with raffles or whatever we might do, and also an opportunity to have a good knees up, a beer and a good laugh. So that is on the 25th. Tickets are £12, plus ones are welcome, and they are £12 as well. Let me know, or Josh or Ben know, because I'm not here this week, if you are still wanting a ticket. We are also doing raffle tickets at £1 a ticket, £10 for 12, and £20 for 24. And there are some incredible prizes, such as a 50. I'm looking at it now. It's sat in my lounge waiting for somebody to win it in a couple of weeks' time. I haven't unboxed it yet. It's a Toshiba Amazon Fire TV 55-inch HD UHD, I think, or HD. 4K HDR, incredible smart TV that has been donated by Jimmy's business. Also got a combi drill. We've got signed Chris Billam-Smith boxing gloves, 2 of those, so left and right to be won as separate prizes. Some alcohol, some gift vouchers for restaurants. We've got golf gift vouchers. We've got loads of stuff. So let's try and raise as much as we can for charity. There's absolutely zero profit being made in this night. So all the ticket sales, anything over the amount just to cover that our getting in fee, will go to charity, as will every penny sold, every ticket sold penny from that will go to it as well. So dig deep, guys. I know it's a tough time of year, but if we can help with Dorset Mind and the type of thing that we all think we should be supporting this time round, we'll pick another charity next time. But yeah, please dig deep, guys. If you can't make it, tickets are available. Also, tickets are available friends and family. So if you want to tell your friends and family, I think my dad's having a tenner's worth. He fancies himself a new TV. So let's share the wealth, let people know, and the more we can raise, the more important that is. And somebody will be going home with a TV. Ideally, I can imagine I'm probably going to be bringing it home with me that night and delivering it at some point, but it will be there with us on the night for everybody to check out and enjoy. So
absolutely.
that's my bit.
To it.
What about Man v Chat then? What's happening with that?
So our second Man v Chat, just to remind you, is only 10 days away as of today, as a recording. So it's Saturday the 18th of May at 10 a.m. at Bournemouth Pier, and we'll be walking to Boscombe Pier and back, this time a little longer. The first one where I had a small but very good turnout in general for a first kind of chat. You don't have to come along if you feel like just because you feel you need to chat to someone, anyone and everyone is welcome. It's not just it's just a social kind of chance to walk up and down in the hopefully nice weather and get some extra steps in, just chat to people a little bit differently, because we don't often chat too much at the sessions loads. And also obviously because we're playing football quite a lot of the time, so there's not loads of time to chat there, and it's just to get away really and just lay a few, if you've got any kind of things that are bothering you, in particular if it's anything about, you know, want to share tips and tricks about how you're doing on your weight, or what you're struggling with, or anything really. It's there for your mental health more than anything else, and so we can just have a lovely chat, have a nice walk, and that's what it's there for. So absolutely everyone welcome, as I say, Saturday 18th of May at 10 a.m. at Bournemouth Pier for a 10:15 start, essentially, to walk. So.
Dogs, kids, scooters, whatever people are bringing.
Jimmy's wheelchair.
Well, he's hoping to be hobbling at least, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, he'll be walking this time. There won't be someone pushing him. But it was comedy gold. Some of that, having him along in a chair, placing him in front of that mural. Connor's nice little shot. So and that's all credit to Jimmy, by the way, and his great effort for putting it together. So we thank him, and I'll be there.
Yeah, me too. It's a great idea, and can't wait to see everybody there. Like you say, hopefully in the sunshine, we'll stop and get a cup of tea somewhere, get a nice group photo of us all, and keep building the community, keep doing these sorts of little things that we can certainly help. And if that helps just one person, that little walk from Boscombe Pier to back, that's the idea. So try and make it if you can, guys. There's no pressure behind it, and you don't have to go and talk to somebody if you don't want to. So please come along.
The one other thing of admin as such to run through is a reminder to people in the Bournemouth community about nominations for Players Player Award. Obviously, this ties in with our awards night. Nominations are open. You can nominate up to 3 people in the league, and then we will take essentially the most nominated people into a vote. The deadline for that is next Thursday, so a week tomorrow, as we should say. I'm trying to remember the actual date of next Thursday, the 16th.
Yeah, that's it.
And then obviously voting will open on the Friday, the 17th. So we'll have one session there for me to badger people over the weekend into the middle of next week before it will be announced on the awards night, our Players Player. We're actually really thrilled to be able to do this. Well, it's your vote, essentially. It's your award as a community award. So please get nominating. You don't have to nominate 3 people. If there's one outstanding candidate, please just takes 2 seconds, just put their name in the sheet, and there'll be a vote counted essentially on nomination. So please do that. I will keep badgering people about it.
Captains as well. We're looking at doing the team's players player, and then the club's players player. So please please let your captain know from your team who your player of the season is, and they will also get something on the awards night, a shout out and a little something for their effort. So it's all about celebrating each other and making sure that everybody knows how well they're doing. We'll tell them, everybody else will tell them, but doing it the way we're doing it is certainly a really good opportunity to celebrate each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Anyway, that's the admin as such.
So let's talk some football, Josh. You and I at the near enough the very beginning of this podcast idea was the beginning of the season, so it gives you an idea of how long we've been doing it. And what we had done is we put together at that point some predictions. So we did Premier League 20 to first, and we also looked at some who was going to be our surprise teams and surprise players. So I don't want to take too long doing it. I appreciate the season isn't quite finished, but there's a lot of it has been decided.
Right. I mean, some teams are on the beach, as we say. So
absolutely. And looking at the table and the whole Arsenal and City situation, there doesn't seem to be too much being let up in that circumstance, which inevitably means those bastards will probably sleepwalk to another title, as they do so well. So what I'll do is I'll run through each position. So I sent over a photo, but you weren't aware, you couldn't remember. So I've listened back today, and this is what we had. So we'll go from first. So we both had City winning the title, which is looking relatively obvious. Liverpool second. So we're a little bit off of them. They certainly have obviously had their troubled times of recent, but I think also whether or not the Klopp's announcement has hindered or has helped in that circumstance where they could have been.
They've just had a drop off, haven't they, in the last few? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from last weekend, but they've just, I don't know, not been quite the same sort of running. So they were there or thereabouts at least. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're likely to finish there, don't they? I don't think Villa can actually catch them. I can't remember off the top of my head without looking at the table now. So yeah, that's who we had, and we both had Arsenal finishing third, which which isn't too far from the truth. Likely to be second, so pretty happy with those.
Currently top though. For some hope there, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Having watched Spurs, it only dawned on me earlier actually thinking about the whole City situation. Am I right in thinking it's Fulham, West Ham, and Spurs who City have got left?
I honestly don't know. I mean, they've got Fulham this weekend.
They've definitely got Spurs, and I'm 99% sure they've got West Ham last game of the season. So they've got 3 London clubs that don't want Arsenal to win the league. So if anything,
I didn't really look at it like that, to be honest. But yeah,
why would they? I don't blame them. Did you see the pictures of the fucking Fulham players in training flying kites? One of the players took some. I think there was 4 or 5 of them in training, pissing around in training, flying kites. And all the Arsenal chats are going, this is exactly what we want to see, isn't it? They're taking it seriously. So talking about being on the beach, that you can't be much far from that with that sort of behaviour. But anyway, by the by, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. I'm sure we'll have a conversation. Interestingly, we both had, and we're miles off with this, United 4th, which is
looking ridiculous, isn't it? Really,
quite considerably wrong.
God.
We also had Chelsea.
What's funny is that they're 13 points off 4th as well. It's not like they were close. No. And it'll be more come the end of the season, I'm sure. They're in 8th, and they're looking like they're just going to do nothing for the rest of the season. Sorry, I don't want to linger on United too long.
No, that's fine.
Makes me laugh now.
We will come back to them slightly later. We then had Chelsea in 5th, which I don't think is going to be too far off actually where they're going to finish. I think they've finished relatively well, haven't they? I know they've got Bournemouth last game of the season, but I can't think of who they've got this weekend. But they certainly have hit a little bit of form. Is it Forest? Is it? So they've certainly hit a little bit of form and have done themselves some favours towards the end of the season in comparison to where they were.
Yeah, they're actually looking good now, which is they're smashing them in as well. Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're 7th at the moment. They can technically finish 5th.
Yeah.
But it would require Spurs definitely to lose all their remaining games, and Newcastle to do something quite similar.
So we move on to 6th. So all the way from 1st to 9th, we actually were identical in terms of our predictions. So whether or not it was that predictable, I think we're probably there or thereabouts for the top half of the table anyway. Newcastle 6th, Spurs 7th, Villa 8th. We're obviously miles off with where Villa will finish. I'm certain that they've nailed the Champions League now, which is incredible. It's nice to see another team. Last year was Newcastle. This year's Villa having their go in the Champions League. Obviously, Arsenal getting back into it last season for the first time in quite a while and cementing their place this time around. It's good to see rotation of teams. That probably not so much for you, and I appreciate it's not as good for somebody that's not in it. So yeah, we had Newcastle, Spurs in 7th, 8th was Villa, 9th we both had Brighton, and this is where it starts to differ. So it's not too dissimilar. So 10th we had Brentford and West Ham. So I went with Brentford, you went with West Ham.
Well, West Ham are roughly there, 9th. Brentford, although down in 16th at the moment.
Yeah, they've certainly not had as good a season as either of us thought, because you then had Brentford in 11th and I had West Ham in 11th. So we kind of switched over those two. You predicted 12th would have been Bournemouth, and I went with Crystal Palace. So I think Bournemouth, one thing I did notice when we came to Bournemouth, and I did write down in my notes that Bournemouth were your surprise team of the season, and you've not been too far off that, to be honest.
I can't say that wasn't a little bit biased, but at the same time, I just trusted that. Yeah, I mean, I probably was a bit biased, to be honest, but I kind of trusted that it was going to work out. After 9 games, I felt like I was going to be well off.
Yeah, you weren't the only one, mate. I think I may have. I'll be on record on here saying I think he was probably the right manager at the wrong time, and he certainly proved me wrong, as has Kai Havertz and loads of other people. Antoine Semenyo, maybe one of them as well, was proving me wrong. I'll never live that.
Not going to get away from that forever. I was just hoping. No, I'll leave that for now. But
never ever.
Yeah, we'll come back to
that. So yeah, I'm super impressed by that prediction. I actually predicted them to finish 16th. So you've done very well with your prediction. So in 12th I had Palace, and as I mentioned, you had Bournemouth. 13th I went with Burnley, you went with Palace. I think we both actually, funny enough, thought Burnley were going to do an awful lot better than they have.
14th, yeah.
I think that they certainly haven't lived up to our expectations. I don't think we watched enough of them, in all fairness, last season to make a complete fair judgment on them. But our perception was that the company played football the right way and was going to get results. But in actual fact, I think that's probably been his downfall, his steely determination to not falter from the game plan and stick to exactly what he knows has worked for them in the Championship. But it proves what a difference it is between those two divisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, that one, isn't it? Really, I think there's just I don't know if it's just because of recency bias on that one. I think there's an assumption that if you cruise the Championship and you're playing really good football, that you're going to have a good chance in the Premier League as long as you keep it up and you get people in. So I think we fell. I think we were a bit
sold on the fairy tale of Vincent Kompany doing so well as well. I think that might have had a part of it. So 14th, as I mentioned, you had Burnley, I had Everton. I don't think they're going to be too far off that, are they? And if you think where they may have been with their points, they could have been quite a bit further ahead than where they were. But rightfully so, have paid the price for mistakes made. So that's where they'll finish. 15th, I went with Fulham. You went with Forest. Now, neither I don't think are a million miles off. Again, I think Fulham are a little bit further up the table at the moment, closer to Bournemouth, aren't they?
On the edge of relegation.
Which I think, having listened back to it, we'll both be relatively disappointed if they didn't get relegated. I think we both agreed that they were going to get their comeuppance and deserved what they got in terms of.
I just don't think anyone really likes the whole we're going to buy 35 players and then you've got your owner telling the club to post during a game about VAR and then
employing Mark Clattenburg as an assistant and as a referee and assistant for the club and all of this bollocks. I think they've done themselves no favours at all.
I just don't think that's very endearing, is it, to the general populace? Not saying that it's a hateful club at all. I'm sure the fans are lovely, but just more of a fans deserve more basically from that club. So
I think you're right. I think they've got steeped in history, but I think there is also, from speaking to Jamie and Ryan, the Bournemouth fans I went to the football with at the weekend, there's certainly an unlikability to Forest and especially their fans as well. So watch this space. You never know what's going to happen. I think it's a little bit of a long shot for them to go down now. I think Luton essentially need a win and a draw to survive. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened. Then in 16th, I went with Bournemouth, as we referenced, and you went with Everton. 17th, I went Forest, you went Fulham. I think Fulham have done a lot better than you expected them to. The next one is quite a faux pas on both of our parts, and credit where credit's due, how well Gary O'Neill has done at Wolves. We both had Wolves to be relegated and finish in 18th, and they've
how wrong were we? Hey,
yeah, absolutely. They've certainly wavered a little bit in the last couple of weeks, and anybody can get beaten by City 4-0 or whatever it was in the end. I think it was 5 actually, didn't it? Because Haaland got 4 and whatever else, whoever else got the last, Alvarez maybe. So that, yeah, we were miles off with that. And then you've got Sheffield United in 19th for me and Luton in 19th for you, and then 20th. I went with Luton, you went with Sheffield United. Yeah. So,
well, Luton and Sheffield United are a bit of kind of, they were the low-hanging fruit as such, weren't they? So,
yeah, I wouldn't suggest we're geniuses for working those two out.
No,
but it is it's certainly an interesting end.
The Wolves one's throwing me, and I have to admit, I'm thrilled for Gary O'Neill, and because I think it's probably he was a better coach than people maybe thought he was, or he is. He is a better coach than people maybe think he is.
Yeah.
Or it could be, not to discredit him necessarily, but it could be the Wolves squad is better than people think it is. I don't know, but yeah, so they've done a decent job. I mean, they're 20 points above relegation, so it's not like they've struggled really too much.
Did you see him on Monday Night Football when he went on?
No.
It got to be mid-season, I think it was. He was unreal, and he showed about how when they beat City.
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah. I have seen bits of it. Yeah,
he was unreal. Really concise with what he was saying. Super likable as well, and so black and white and straightforward. And I think it's exactly what you need. Overcomplicating it when it comes to coaching is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Keeping it simple is super important, and he certainly does that. But it's really proper complex thinking, but being able to portray or explain it in a simple manner is quite a talent, is it? In any walk of life, any industry, something so complicated to be explained simply is super good. So fair play to him, and I think he'll probably go on and improve if he can start signing some of the players he wants to get in at Wolves. I can't see them struggling next season. There definitely won't be. If you think about Ipswich and Leicester, I think Leicester are likely to stay in the league now. They've got such a strong squad, and I think they went down by mistake, really.
I agree. It's a bit of a different thing to Burnley, but at the same time, you could always fall a foul to that.
I think Leicester had more of a Premier League team in that championship anyway, didn't they? As it proved in the end. Ipswich, on the other hand, I think they've got a fantastic coach, but I think they'll have a puncher's chance. They'll need to do some good business. I heard that they're going to try, and there's a few rumours that they'd already inquired about taking Smith Rowe and Nketiah on loan from Arsenal with an option to buy if they stayed up.
Yeah,
which I think Arsenal probably would, if they get a fair fee. I think Arsenal probably would. Sadly, Nketiah, I'm less bothered about going, but Smith Rowe, sadly. But yeah, that's if they're fishing in that sort of pond and they're looking for players of that ability that can go in and help them, I think they'll stand a chance, and they've got that fighting spirit that Luton are likely to have. Well, Luton had.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'll take a couple of Man United players. Kieran McKenna's ties, and also, I mean, if they can have the squad if they want, they can take relegation fighting squad to honestly, I actually just saw something about that. Statistically speaking, Man United, at least from an XG kind of philosophy thing, have been relegation form for a while now.
Yeah, and finishing the season often gives you an idea of how the season's going to start as well in terms of form. So it'd be very interesting. You need to
relegation. Yeah, they need to get
change some fortunes pretty quickly. I saw somebody say, "Would Man United take a risk on McKenna?" And somebody said, "Would McKenna take a risk on Man United?" And I was like,
"Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I was going to say that is the way you've got to look at it." Yeah.
So yeah, let's. In terms of our surprises, just very quickly, bigger surprise for teams. You went with Bournemouth, I went with Villa. I'm quite happy with my prediction with that. Obviously, well and above our expectations in terms of 8th, but to have nailed the Champions League, I'm not put my head on too many blocks to suggest that they'll do that with how things are panning out. And then players, you went with Ollie Watkins, so I think it's a great shout. And I went with McAllister, who I think has had a better end of the season.
Very good season. Yeah, he's had a good season. He's had a very good season.
How do you think? Is he? I don't think I've seen enough of him.
Well, he's just one of these, because of the way the system he's in. Well, not system, but until recently, when they'd had injuries and he had to play further up the field, he's been more of a kind of a slightly deeper role.
Yeah,
and I think that often gets forgotten. I think it gets overlooked, basically.
Yeah.
So I think he's had a very good season, and definitely the second half of the season has been much better than the first, I think. But maybe it took him a little bit to get involved. But yeah, so far he's been brilliant. I think all of those midfielders have been pretty decent, that Liverpool team. So
yeah,
again, I probably should hear from a Liverpool fan who watches them more often than I do, because I avoid them like the plague. But but I think generally he's been good. As for Ollie Watkins, just as Villa go as he goes, don't they? Really?
Yeah.
Just they've been phenomenal. So he's been phenomenal. So
yeah, I agree. Awesome. Okay. So just a few footballing things that I wanted to talk about as well. I know that we're pressed for time, and lots to still talk about. So obviously I went to the Jack Hater derby, the podcast derby, whatever everybody else wants to call it, the Arsenal Bournemouth match. Unfortunately, it pisses me off. So I'm a red member at Arsenal, pay 50 quid a year or whatever it is for it. And you can enter ballots. You have to enter a ballot to get home tickets. And I entered into every home game this season, and every home Champions League game, and every cup home game. And I didn't get
anywhere near it.
I didn't get a single ticket once. And guess what happens next week? They take the 50 quid again for next season.
Oh, really?
Automatically. And I'm a sucker. I'm going to go take it. Just hope that I can try again next season. But yeah, I'm not the only one in that. I appreciate I'm not the only one out of hundreds of thousands of people trying to get tickets to Arsenal at the moment. But yeah, super frustrating. But yeah, Saturday away end, I took, as I mentioned, I took Ryan Puttick and obviously Louis and Jamie, who played the 11s with us. So Lou was also an undercover gooner with me in the stand as well. There was certainly a lot of those about. And there's a few things. I know that we spoke in the group chat about it, but I think the pen was awful, but it is a pen, sadly.
It is. I don't like it, say, as a Bournemouth fan, but I don't. I was one of the people who said in the chat when I was like, it's unfortunately a pen, but I hate it.
Yeah, and I pray it's something that they strongly look at in the summer around the simulation and the way that it's done. But I think whilst you don't have football people helping make those decisions or making those decisions in the moment, they're going black and white. Was there contact? Did it prevent the player from carrying on?
I can understand why they do it, because I think the thing is this. This is just a generalization, but people clamour for things to be made simpler, because that way referees can make simpler decisions, and then the fans aren't confused and blah blah blah. So in that sense, a penalty is a penalty in that case, because there was contact, he did go down, etc. It's a penalty, and that's the law as it stands. Yeah. But then you've got people who, because of that one instance where they're not happy with, will be crying that actually there needs to be more subjectivity, and you can't just assume. You can clearly tell that he was buying it, and that shouldn't be a pen, blah blah blah. But then if you add subjectivity, you make it more complicated, and then you make referees' jobs more complicated. And what have we all been crying about all season? Quality of the refereeing, and how simple things through VAR are all subjective, and which means that it's almost never consistent and never correct according to at least a certain percentage of the fans.
Yeah,
I realise I'm going off on one slightly, but
I agree.
That kind of penalty decision epitomizes it, really, in my opinion. It's a penalty, but subjectively people will be like, oh, it shouldn't be. And why aren't the refs allowed to just turn around and look at it and go, common sense, oh, that shouldn't be because he bought it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, I was pretty happy with the Bournemouth performance. I think they defended well. They stood up to Arsenal for that first half really well. I think Mark Travers is doing amazingly in goal. I think he should have been in goal from the start of the season, in my personal opinion. Yeah. But then the flip side of it, I think Arsenal were fantastic that first half. They really gave them a battering, and I think if they hadn't have scored just before half time with that penalty, it certainly would have made things a lot more nervous for that second half. Yeah. Seeing Rice again in person play, he was just on a different level. I think he's taken Arsenal to another level, and I think Arsenal have taken Rice to another level. So that was really good to see. Massively deserved man of the match performance from him. Yeah. A few things on Bournemouth. You wanted to mention the record points, which is awesome.
Record points all for AFC Bournemouth and in the Premier League. And and they did it in 27 games, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, 1 or 2 games out, because they've done it over the whole season, but they didn't get a win until
it's mental, isn't it? Condensed.
It's a win until like week 9 or week 10. So it's pretty amazing how most of that has come in 25, 28, between 25 and 30 games. So it's really, really impressive. And it shows that, as we mentioned, slow start, but they've been on European level form since that week. So
definitely.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about people suggesting it might be Dom's last home game this weekend at the Vitality?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Before you mentioned this to me, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think it would be. It hadn't even crossed my mind at all that it might be. Now I think about it, I really don't want it to be. I think Bournemouth is perfect for him. And I think this season, if anything, finishing in the top half, if we can stay in top half, would hopefully convince him to stay. Because we're going in the right direction. He is the talisman. I don't see how he couldn't. I get it though. If he's like hell bent on, I don't think he is. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be hell bent on leaving Bournemouth for the sake of some bench games in a, I don't know, a Spurs team or something.
Spurs, hypothetically, he's not starting over Richarlison, is he? I don't think.
Well, no, he probably would start in Spurs.
I think he's better than him,
but just you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I just don't know where he would jump to that he would get the same kind of games and be the same kind of figure. And yeah,
is the grass always greener? That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I think
it's
a decision that he'll have to make. I think.
So I hope he doesn't leave, but if someone pays big money, I mean, are Bournemouth going to refuse? I don't know.
I think if somebody was to offer 50 million for him, I think Bournemouth would consider it. And at the moment, I trust Bournemouth's recruitment team to go and find somebody suitable. And Unal, I'm quite impressed by. I like his tenacity, and I think if he got an opportunity or got the opportunities that Dom gets, I know Dom makes a lot of them himself, but I think if he got the opportunities that Dom gets to score, he's got a chance of scoring just as many. But we shall see. Let's move on to Palace for United 0. Now, obviously, a comical evening for
it's laughable. It's just
everybody
laughable
to enjoy, other than the United fans. It's United are a sorry state of affairs, and honestly, if they play that team, if they play Casemiro against Arsenal at centre back on Sunday, it could be double digits.
The guy, his legs are gone. He's just like he shouldn't be playing. Put a bloody youth player, someone who's got any kind of pace, someone who he got dribbled around like 9 or 10 times in that game, like really easily. Anyway, that's just one player. To be fair to him though, having to play him there and an unfit and not a fully fit Johnny Evans because you have no other fit centre backs is pretty terrible, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Something's not right to have that many injuries. So you got to think, and this brings me on to the next point. I think that they have. I think Ten Hag has lost the changing room, and I think that some of those injuries are injuries that I can't be asked anymore, or this is me.
Maybe
sacking it in.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's definitely the case but you could think about, say, Rashford, who's injured.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, he could be one of those. I don't want to just pin him down as one player, but he's an example of, of that. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think it's kind of got to that stage where if you're injured, you're just out and you take the time to recover. I mean, that's the first game Bruno Fernandes has missed.
Yeah, I credit where credit's due. That's fact.
Ages. Yeah. And I can't genuinely. He was in a cast, in a boot earlier on in the season, and he made a game, and played. Ten Hag was saying the other day about in the FA Cup semi-final, he was really injured or something, and his ankle was twice the size of his other one, and he still played 120 minutes or something silly.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, he's a machine. He's the kind of guy I want to stay. I know people moan about him, but he's the kind of, but everyone else can go. No.
Yeah.
They're just falling apart, aren't they? They're I think they're on the beach essentially, and I think an element of that injury is an element of like not playing for the manager. I think it's just not be bothered with the season now. They're kind of like Europe is. I mean, they still could get some Europe, but maybe they don't care. They're just like,
No.
get kind of thing. And Palace are good though. Palace have been really good. So, but even so, 4-0 comfortable win at home.
You can't be.
Man United were poor. They were really poor. So
you can't be looking forward to.
Oh no! Well,
to the FA Cup final at this rate, surely.
FA Cup final. I'm not looking forward to Sunday. I'm looking forward to like. Yeah, Man United at home at least, but Arsenal, man, just destroyed. And then you've got FA Cup final, and I think it'll be another decimation at the hands of City. So 2 finals in 2 seasons is impressive, but I don't get where the rest of it's come from. Like, oh well.
Yeah,
well, we won't linger, mate, because I'll go on a rant after rant after rant, and just I don't think it's terrible. I think it's kind of one of these things where I think if most fans would have their way, most of that squad, including the first team, would be out the door. I think I would much rather just play Man United's under 18s or under 21s team for the entire season, with the exception of like Højlund and Garnacho and Bruno and like Mainu. I basically just everyone else can, if they're not doing the right things, they're not putting the effort in. I'll take mid-table mediocrity.
Yeah.
Man United don't deserve to be title winners just because they're Man United. I've said this a million times. Like, they don't deserve it any more than anyone else. You deserve what you put in. At the moment, none of those players are putting anything in, and Ten Hag looks tired. He just looks fed up and tired and just like, what can I do? And so like the attitude in that club stinks and has done since Sir Alex left. It's just been so.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. The other key notes, which I can't let slip, is Spurs losing 4 in a row. It's always good to see. They have been utter shite. Ange's reluctance to accept that need to focus on set pieces is hilarious.
I know. They haven't had easy games though. Newcastle away.
They have been shite though, haven't they?
Arsenal. And then you've had Tottenham, okay, to be fair, who were really good that day.
Chelsea,
and then Liverpool. Chelsea, sorry, who were really good that day, sorry. And then Liverpool.
They were good that day, you're right, yeah. Yeah, they've not been great. Do you know what? Seeing them how they played against the others, it almost pissed me off that we let them score 2 goals against us in the derby. How poor they were. Realistically, with that derby, we played relatively shit the first half and scored 3 goals. Played really well the second half and conceded 2. It's always a strange derby, the North London derby, but. Yeah, that's I can't let that one slip. The other one I was going to mention as well is Dortmund. I really like Dortmund. I'd quite if Jude and Real Madrid don't get beyond Bayern Munich and it's 0-0 at the moment. This evening, I'd quite like Dortmund to go on and win it. I think I really like them. I really like the fans. I really like the manager. I like the ethos. The two centre backs, Hummels. I can't remember the other guy's name. Funny name. I can't remember it at the top of my head. But they were brilliant last night. I really enjoyed it. And the last time they got to the Champions League final, did you know this was against Bayern Munich at Wembley? Which, interestingly, who they're half a game getting away to being exactly the same this time round. It's funny how those little things happen in football.
Yeah, interesting. I actually I wouldn't mind that. I think I'd quite like. I know we talk about Jude and Real Madrid, but I actually quite like Bayern to make it. I think Kane making it to a Champions League final. I mean, just imagine if he wins the Champions League, man. Or after all that itching about them not winning the Bundesliga because of the Kane effect, and he ends up going there, winning the one thing they've eluded them for years as well.
And Tuchel winning it, but being on the way out anyway. It's just.
Well, I mean, people talk about him going to United, but I'm not sure he'd want United at this rate.
No.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I think by the way, that's down to PSG being so unlikable.
Oh, they're so shit as well. Like, I half expected them to be for the red cards to start flowing last night because they did lose their heads. There were some tackles flying in and they hit the crossbar a couple of times. All these things, I fully expected them to lose their heads and get somebody themselves sent off, but it didn't happen. But I don't think it was too far from it. So yeah. Anything else you want to cover?
Well, there's nothing on the football side. And if you don't mind, though, just to wrap up, we'll run through some of the Man v Fat fantasy just of this week's one. For that one, I'm not going to cover too much fantasy football. Just to say quickly, for any actual Premier League fantasy, it's a double game week this week, 37. A lot of teams have double game weeks. 2 games this coming week.
Right.
And so basically, if you have any chips left, your free hit, your bench boost, your triple captain, your wild card, anything like that, use it now. Use it to try and load up or increase the points of a team full of hopefully double game weekers, and just have some fun. Now's the time if you're just chasing leagues, chasing mini leagues, chasing rank, whatever it is. Take a punt on someone low owned that you think could smash it. Now's your chance. I mean, I'm just gonna have some fun, to be honest. I've tried to the last couple of weeks. I've been a bit mental, deliberately trying to chase, and it's not worked out perfectly. It's not been a disaster, but it's not worked out perfectly. So I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere with. So I'm just gonna have some fun, and that's what it's all about. So last couple of weeks of that. Yeah. In terms of the Bournemouth Man v Fat Fantasy, this is what I'm almost into more now. I must admit. So it was an interesting week because there was a 0-0 and there weren't loads of goals. We had 3 goalkeepers in Team of the Week. So Bill from the Whites makes the first team for Team of the Week. He was in goal for the whole game. Clean sheet. He made several very good saves. He lost some weight as well, and he was in Team of the Week. So he scored 15 points as a goalkeeper. Then at the back in the starting 11, we had Ollie from the Blues and Neil from the Oranges. Ollie, again, clean sheet, lost weight, got a hat-trick. And Neil had a clean sheet, massive clean sheet for the Oranges, and he lost weight for 8 points, and Ollie had 9, by the way. Then we got to the midfield, where we only have one sole person in the middle this week, in the allowable formations I've got. And that was Gareth, who leads our Team of the Week with 19 points. Wow. He got a goal, man of the match for the Yellows. Lost weight, got a hat trick. In terms of weight hat tricks, by the way, I should clarify the hat tricks on this one. And then Team of the Week as well for weight loss. So that was 19 points. Then the front 3 were James Scott from the Reds.
Yeah.
Who got 15 points. He scored a goal, lost weight, got a weight hat trick, and Team of the Week weight. Alex makes the team again for the second week running, at the top with a goal, 13 points overall, goal, man of the match, and he lost weight. And then I made it into the first
there
team.
He is.
I scored 17 points. I got 2 goals, an assist, and lost some weight. So mine was more heavily weighted pitch rather than weight, because I didn't make Team of the Week or anything for that one. And then on the bench we have 2 goalkeepers, Tim and Ryan. Tim for the Blues, who made several saves, got a clean sheet.
So many saves, yeah.
Won man of the match because of it and lost some weight for 15 points for a joint with Bill.
Yeah, amazing work.
And then Ryan, as always, he made ton of saves. I have it listed as 8 or 9. Clean sheet, man of the match for them as well in a 0-0 and lost weight. So he got 12 points. And then we have 2 midfielders to round off the bench. Victor from the Blues with 12 points, a goal, clean sheet, for which if you're a midfielder, you only get 1 point, and lost weight. And then Jogs made it again. So he, I think Victor, by the way, made last week's team of the week as well. So I'm probably missing someone else on that list who was also in last team of the week. And then Jogs rounds it out with 11 points, 2 assists, one of which was for a very unfortunate own goal, but it still counts. And a lost weight himself as well.
Yeah.
So that rounds out the team of the week, fantasy team of the week for Bournemouth Man v Fat.
Awesome. Excellent, mate. I love it. Keep it up. It's really really
I enjoy
captivating.
It,
it's good, mate. It's good. It keeps us all just another thing for us to keep interested and keep chatting about. If it can spur some people on, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah. I would say I would like to just clarify quickly on this one.
Go on.
I love doing it. I think it's important. I like doing it. I think it's a good thing for the league if for people's interest. But it's good to remind people that this isn't the be all and end all of. It's a football. It's a combined football and weight loss thing for fantasy. But I hope it doesn't send the wrong message, because
no. I'm sure it doesn't.
Obviously just doing this for fun, and the weight loss is the major part of it, and I don't want it to detract from that in any way. People trying to smash things on the pitch all the time and get over competitive to try and hit a fantasy team of the week when weight loss is just the biggest part of it. So
no, fair point, mate. No, I think it's well said, and I think people are sensible enough to think about that, and hopefully it keeps people going in the right direction to be able to do both.
Yeah,
keeping it competitive on the pitch helps it be competitive off the pitch. They feed each other.
Yeah.
So awesome.
No worries.
Excellent. I think that's our lot tonight. If you haven't got anything else to say, it's been a pleasure. I'll be thinking of you guys when I'm stood in some horrible sticky floored Benidorm club at 3 a.m. Saturday morning, I should say, and I'll be certainly keeping an eye on the scores coming through for sure. And good luck to everybody, and good luck to the Blues. We need them to do a job on the greens, if I'm completely honest. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's been a pleasure, mate. As always, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Enjoy it well. Thanks a lot, mate. Take it easy.